Welcome to my channel, Relaflix. In today's video, we will be enjoying an American martial arts film, entitled Boyka, Undisputed. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie begins in Kiev, Ukraine, at an underground arena where Boyka, a martial artist and an escaped convict, competes with an opponent. Although the opponent initially gets the better of him and dominates the fight, Boyka gains strength and wins the match, knocking his opponent down to the ground. Elsewhere, at the maximum security prison in Russia, a masked and deadly prisoner, Koshmar, is escorted out by the guards to fight another prisoner, while the higher rank officers watch the fight. Koshmar beats up his opponent with ease and continues to hit his face brutally until he dies. Later on, Boyka is seen making a regular donation to his church. While he drops the items, the priest approaches him and thanks him for the donation. He then asks if he won his last match and reminds him that violence isn't the solution if he seeks salvation. However, Boyka insists that God gave him a talent and it will be a waste if he doesn't use it the right way. Upon hearing this, the father warns him that violence has a way of consuming man. Afterward, Boyka trains at the sports center, but he is interrupted by his manager, Kirill, who informs him about a European division tournament. He informs Boyka that the tournament scout will be at his next fight and that he will be able to participate in the tournament if he convinces them. The day of the fight finally arrives and Boyka prays before leaving the room. He meets with Kirill, who informs him that his opponent is good and different from any opponent he has ever faced, but Boyka states that nothing will stand between him and the tournament. Shortly after, the fight begins and just as Kirill predicted, the opponent is very strong. The two continue to battle it out for a while, but Boyka soon gains the upper hand and beats up his opponent. However, he refuses to back down, even though Boyka warns him to stay down. Enraged, Boyka turns around and hits him multiple times, knocking him out instantly. He wins the match and the crowd cheers him on, while the medics attend to his opponent. In the dressing room, the tournament scouts approach him to congratulate him and inform him about the tournament, stating that they are expecting him in Budapest 2 weeks from now. Kirill also gives him his earnings from that night's match and leaves the room, leaving Boyka to celebrate. However, while leaving the room, he sees his opponent being transferred to the hospital as the fight led to a serious health condition. Boyka becomes sad and remembers the priest's words to him. The next morning, Boyka meets with Kirill to ask about the man and Kirill tells him that he is dead, after much persistence from Boyka. Boyka feels terrible, but Kirill tells him that he is not liable for his death as it was an accident. However, Boyka insists on knowing more about the man. Kirill finally tells him that his name is Victor and shows him Victor's bag. Boyka discovers that Victor is married and he demands a fake passport in order to travel to Russia to meet Victor's wife, Alma. Kirill warns him as it might be a problem for his career as he is wanted in Russia, but Boyka insists on getting the fake passport. At Victor's funeral, Zurab, a crime boss to whom Alma owes a lot of money, also attends the funeral and she becomes shaken to the core. After the funeral, Zurab asks her when she would pay his money before stating that he can make things easy for her and starts touching her body, but Alma tells him that she would work and pay him back. Meanwhile, Kirill gets Boyka the fake passport and gives him certain instructions to follow during his stay in Russia. At the border, he lies to the soldiers that he is visiting his dying uncle, and the soldiers believe as they allow him to travel to Ukraine. Upon his arrival in Ukraine, he checks into a motel before leaving to search for Alma. Not long after, he witnesses Zurab's men picking up Alma and a man confronts him about it. Boyka asks him where they are taking Alma and the man informs him that she is going to work. Soon after, Boyka finds his way to Zurab's club, where Alma works as a waitress, and searches for her. He also watches 2 men fight in the ring, and the winner boasts of being the best. After a while, Boyka finally spots Alma and approaches her, but he is interrupted by Zurab's men. The men lead him outside and ask him to leave, but he insists on speaking with Alma. The men then attack him, but Boyka beats them with ease and Zurab approaches him after spotting him through the cameras. He asks Boyka to fight in his club, but Boyka refuses and insists on speaking with Alma. However, Zurab tells him that no one speaks with Alma without his permission and asks him to leave. He warns Boyka that he will be killed the next time he tries to speak with her and asks his men to keep an eye on him. Later that night, Boyka is having trouble sleeping and reminisces about his fights as well as the priest's words to him. The next day, Boyka goes to the community center where he first met Alma. On getting there, he knocks out the guard with just a punch to the face after he tries to stop him. After all the effort, he finally gets to speak with Alma and informs her that he knew her husband, showing her the letter she sent to him. Boyka asks her if Zurab is disturbing her, but she informs him that Zurab loaned her and Victor the money they used to open the community center and she's working at his club to pay him. With regret in his eyes, Boyka tells her that he was in the ring with Victor and apologizes to her for his hand in Victor's death, stating that it was an accident. He asks her if there's anything he can do to help her, but Alma tells him to bring back her husband, which is impossible. He then offers her the money from the fight, but Alma slams the money at him and tells him to leave, as she believes it is blood money. With no other option left, Boyka leaves immediately to meet Zarab at his club, making a grand entrance as he beats the guard. Concurrently, Zarab rejects all the fighter's Slava presents to him and says that he needs a real fighter. Right on time, Boyka offers to fight for him to clear Alma's debt and they agree on 3 fights. To Boyka's surprise, it turns out Zarab has conducted his research on him and finds out about his real identity, but he tells him not to worry about the police because they report to him. Boyka calls Kirill to extend the bus ticket because he will be staying for another week. On his way out, Alma approaches him and asks him not to fight for her as she cannot be won over with just a few fights, but Boyka confesses that he is fighting to free himself. He then leaves for a gym to practice, but a fighter challenges him for using his bag, prompting Boyka to knock him out. It's the first day of the fight and Boyka is scheduled to fight the local champion. The match begins and Zarab's champion, Igor, studies his moves while he fights. Boyka wins the fight in no time, even though he does not have the courage to throw the last punch, due to his inner demons. While he leaves the ring, Igor confronts him and tells him to have fun while he can till they have their match. Adding fire to the smoke, Zarab also tells him not to get too comfortable and asks Alma to get him a drink. Afterward, Boyka asks her if she knows where he can train as the one down the street is filled with rats, and Alma tells him to come over to the community center. Boyka goes to the community center the next day to train and Alma gives him a tour of the gym. While he practices, the kids come to watch him and he asks Alma to let them stay. It's the day of the second fight, and Boyka's opponents are 2 brothers. He is surprised to find out that he will be fighting with 2 people at the same time, but Zarab reminds him that it's his rules as it's his arena. Having no other choice, Boyka begins the fight and they are very tough opponents. While they fight, Boyka becomes weak but gains strength and continues the fight strongly after spotting Alma staring at him. He manages to dominate the fight, which brings out a smile from Alma. Boyka wins the fight and Zarab asks Igor if he is ready to fight with Boyka. Soon after, Zarab meets with a high-ranking police officer and bribes him to bring Koshmer out of the prison. Although the officer initially disagrees as it almost cost him his job the last time he brought him out, Zarab gives him a lot of cash and offers to hand over Boyka to him. Meanwhile, Boyka goes to the center to train and Alma prepares an ointment for his back. While she applies it, Boyka annoys her after he asks her to pack her bags and leave the country. However, Alma tells him that the center is their dream as the kids would have joined a bad gang if not for the center. Unknown to them, Zarab thinks that Alma is having an affair with Boyka and asks his men to watch him. He then visits Alma to confront her about it, but Alma tells him that she loves Victor. He touches her seductively and kisses her, before pushing her off and telling her that he will kill Boyka if she lets him in again. While returning from his routine jogging, Kirill calls him to inform him about his flight and fight. On getting to his motel he finds Alma there, who asks him to tell her about the fight with her husband, as Zarab manages to convince her that Victor's death wasn't an accident. After much persistence, Boyka explains that he has done a lot of bad things that led him to prison but God showed him the way. However, he states that he has been given a gift by God and he needs to prove to the world that he is the best fighter, but Victor was standing between him and his dreams. After listening to the story, Alma can't take it anymore and runs out of the room. It's the night of the last fight and Igor beats Boyka, punching him on his back after realizing that it has been fractured. However, Boyka spots Alma watching him and he turns around the fight. He beats up Igor and defeats him. While he packs his bag to leave, Zarab approaches him and informs him that Igor isn't his champion but just a random fighter and asks him to defeat Koshmer to free Alma. Boyka reluctantly agrees, even though it means he will lose his bus. Koshmer is being dragged in with chains and Boyka feels intimidated by his size. The fight begins and Boyka's attacks do not affect him. Koshmer easily knocks him out but Boyka manages to stand up after looking at Alma, but Koshmer keeps beating him. Boyka overtakes the fight and knocks Koshmer out of the ring, breaking one of his arm and leg, which surprises Zarab. Enraged, Zarab apprehends Alma and asks his men to beat up Boyka. The men beat him but Boyka turns the fight around after hearing Alma scream for help. However, one of the men shoots him but Boyka continues to fight, till he kills all the men. He immediately runs after Zarab and a shooting spree ensues. Zarab shoots at him and tries to run away with her. Alma bites him, giving Boyka the opportunity to beat him. He hits Zarab in the face and strangles him to death. Alma rushes to meet Boyka and asks that they go to the hospital but Boyka asks her if she can forgive him for what happened. Not long after, the police officers arrive and arrest him. 6 months later, Alma visits Boyka at the prison and shows him the images the kids drew for him. She apologizes for not coming to see him earlier and thanks him for giving her back her freedom. Before he leaves, Alma tells him that she has forgiven him, and Boyka thanks her. Meanwhile, Boyka continues to train in the prison to hold the title of the unbeatable champion. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified whenever we publish the next recap. Till then, take care. See you next time.